What is up? I'm Gordon from Marmalead.
I am Richie from Marmalead.
And this week we have a very special guest with us. We have Carly from Pendantplacestore with us. Thank you so much for being with us, Carly.
Thank you.
So Carly has a pretty cool story that she wanted to share with everybody. Before we dive into that, though, we want to start way back at the beginning. How in the world did you come into the Etsy space and selling on Etsy and interested in that area?
Well, I started by going to the local jewelry shop and taking this class on charm bracelet making. And as I was checking out, I saw these little One Direction pendants of the band. And that's really cool. You can make picture jewelry? And she said, yeah, but I don't know how to do it. You have to look it up. I said, okay, let me try and do that. So I did that. And then I made them for everybody in my family for Christmas. And I thought to myself, maybe I can do something with this. So somebody had mentioned Etsy to me. I got super excited. I'm like, wow, I can have my own business. I uploaded everything and I tried that shop and it didn't go so well because I didn't really know what I was doing. And I got frustrated, closed that shop. And maybe like 2 or 3 months later, I said, let me try this again. Now that I know a little bit more than I did before. And I tried that one. And with that one, I also coincided with a flea market space and making pre-made pendants of Marilyn Monroe and Audrey Hepburn. And again, did not go well, but had a very cool name. It was called Charmspiration.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was awesome. But because I had used it and closed that shop, when I opened again, I had to pick a different shop name. And I'm like, well, what am I making? Pendants. And this is the place you can get them. So Pendantplacestore is how I landed on that. And I said, now I'm a little older. I have a little more patience, and I'm really determined to make this shop work. I'm willing to do whatever it takes and willing to give it the time and the nurturing and the growth that it needs to get to where I want it to be. And that's what I decided to do. And here we are a couple years later, and now I work for myself. So it takes time, but you can do it. That's what happened.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so you kind of hinted at it that you're full-time now on your Etsy shop. What was life like before that? Did you have a part-time job? Where were you?
I was originally working 2 jobs to support myself and trying to grow my Etsy shop. And the 2 jobs I was working, and my schedule was like 7 o'clock in the morning to like 10 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday, and then like 10 to 10 on the weekends. So I kind of sat down and I said, okay, I know what I need to do in order to push my shop from being half of my income to my full income. I took some coaching from Dave Denard from Add to Cart. I started with a coaching call with him in January, and he started to put me in the right direction. Dave offered this 45-minute coaching call. Everything that he said, I applied, and I started to notice my shop was like moving. And one of the big things was Marmalead, using the SEO, knowing how to use it, and applying it to my shop in ways that I didn't even think about before. And then when COVID happened, I said, you know what? I'm going to go through with that other coaching from Dave. And I'm going to see what other skills I can gain from that and what I can apply to my shop. And then I started doing it every single day. My shop in a month went from I need a second job to I can work for myself now in like a month and a half.
Yeah.
So if there's any time to do it, it's right now.
That's
and part of my routine every morning is I go on my Etsy shop and I have a listing that I pick and a couple listings. Like I would do up to 5 and I would change the SEO using Marmalead. So Marmalead is part of my morning routine. And I think that made a big difference in my shop because that's like the main thing that I do is change SEO on a couple listings every morning before I even touch, my orders.
That's fantastic. We talk to a lot of people who get in sort of like a set it and forget it mentality with SEO. And I totally get it because when you're making your listing, it's so much work to get those listings done and out there. And then once it's there, you're like, I'm so done with that. I don't want to mess with that listing again.
Right.
But it's tricky because, markets change. Different keywords are going to show up and disappear, and you can't ignore that. You got to kind of stay on top of things. So it's cool that you have a daily strategy with your SEO, and it's also cool that you don't feel the need to have to go through all of your listings or half of your listings. It's not a huge chunk of things, right? You're taking one, maybe two listings a day and kind of reworking those if they need it.
Yeah, and it made me learn how Marmalead works for my shop, and being able to do that every single day and redo just 1 to 2 a day made a huge, huge difference. Because if that was the main thing I was doing and all of a sudden my shop went from kind of okay to explosive, it just shows like how well what you guys have created works for Etsy shop owners. And it becomes easier and quicker too. You're not sitting there doing SEO for like an hour. And you have to think about it from Etsy's perspective with the algorithm. If it's used to knowing that your shop is about personalized photo jewelry, and now you're adding 10 other categories that it could be part of in a day, the algorithm's going to be like, I don't know. I need some time to figure out what's
Right.
happening over here before I
Yeah.
can send people this way.
Absolutely. It's going to be like, hold on, time out. I got to figure this out here. Like, where do you fit? What's going to be working for you? And it really has to relearn stuff like that when you're making broad sweeping changes.
Yeah. Etsy wants to direct the traffic to what the person is searching for. And if you have a listing that worked with the search of personalized photo jewelry, and now you're saying bracelet instead of putting the personalized photo jewelry with the word bracelet, now when that person's searching for personalized photo jewelry and they want a bracelet is going to get lost because bracelet is such a like high engagement, high competition keyword.
When you sort of started investing more time in really like hunkering down with your Etsy shop, do you feel like you were spending a lot more time per day doing that, or were you focusing on different things than you had been spending your time on before? How did that kind of play in?
At first, it gets a little overwhelming because you get really excited and saying, okay, this is what I'm doing every day. And then you start to make a long list of all the things that you have to get done. And like you start to do the Etsy things, and then you're like, okay, I'm getting a little overwhelmed and burnt out because I feel like I have so much to do. But then I started to balance, and I started to say, okay, from this time to this time, this is what I'm doing, and this is the Etsy things that I am doing. Do things in order of importance and take things one at a time.
So as you were going through and making changes and doing things a little bit differently with your shop, you talk a little bit about the SEO aspect of it. Was there anything else you did? Did you redo photos? Like, what was part of your routine that you were working on?
I did redo photos just a little bit, not too much, because I started having friends who were professional photographers take some pictures. So photos, not as much, more so descriptions, SEO, and also suppliers. That was a big thing during COVID. There are some items that I get overseas that are now telling me that they're going to take 2 months to get to me. And I can't do that. And I'm also researching locally where I can get stuff. So that was a big thing. I had to like go to places that I didn't purchase from before. So I do have a supplier in the US, but there are some things as I grew that I did get overseas.
Have you had to change any of the products that you're offering due to having a tough time sourcing things, or have you really been able to fill all the gaps that you've had?
I was lucky enough because I started that first shop, you know, how many years ago, that I started by only sourcing in the US. So I already had a backup plan, not on purpose, but just by sheer luck. There was maybe 1 or 2 times and 1 or 2 items that I was like, slide the button that says not available. So what I did personally is I said, okay, this is something I can't find anywhere else. So can you just put me on your list to message me the second they get in, and I will buy them tie clips. I bought all of her stock in May. And now I have like a whole drawer full of them. Because something could be popular for a week, and then all of a sudden they're not popular anymore for another month, and now you're sitting on stuff. So I had somebody I did wholesale wine charms for right before COVID. And to make sure I had them for her when she came back and ordered more, I bought in bulk a lot of wine charms.
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID happened, and her restaurant is not open.
Yeah.
And she's not selling these wine charms.
Yeah. Oh.
So I now have an absurd amount of wine charms that I am just hoping are popular for the holidays. Wine charms on Marmalead, there are some keywords for wine charms that are pretty good. But I think what it is with the wine charms is SEO wise, people are not searching for it all the time, especially not a personalized wine charm. It's one of those keywords that's kind of like super niche where you need the person who's really looking for them. And you need to find out who they can be gifted to. If you look at Marmalead statistics, it's just not a popular.
Sure. Yeah, and it could be that, most people that end up purchasing them didn't start their search knowing they were looking for wine charms. They could have
Yeah.
just been looking for something else, searching forever under different terms. And then as soon as they see one pop up, they're like, here we go. Like, this is perfect.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed from my customers as to when they purchase those.
Yeah.
They find it looking for other things. That's why Marmalead's great, because you can look for other keywords that are popular and are searched for, and then put wine glass charm after that keyword and make it a long tail. That's why I really like Marmalead, because it opens your mind to think about like who else is looking for this, not just what it is.
Yeah, it's good to cast a wide net. There's millions of searches that happen on Etsy every month, and those search terms aren't all the same. It's not all the same 10 words that people are searching for. And so it's important to have a good understanding of the market that you're in. And like you're saying, not just thinking about what it is and what it's made of, but what need is it solving for people, and what other ways are they coming across this? It's a good idea to cast a wide net with your keywords that you have on a listing. If you have keywords on there that aren't performing and delivering new views, well, what could I replace that with that maybe someone would stumble across it when they're looking for something else, and that actually is fitting their need perfectly. They just weren't using the word that I thought of for them to search for it.
Right. Like for me, the other day I was searching home decor because I don't know what I want. But I love that keyword because as I'm looking on Etsy and scrolling through, there are like so many different ideas for home decor, instead of just, being so specific. But the people who had like the bar stools, they're like home decor bar stools is the keyword. I would have never thought about bar stools.
Right. And I think that's how a lot of people search. Like they'll start with something like home decor to just get ideas and be like, what sort of feel am I looking for? What needs am I trying to fit here? And once they see something like bar stools, well, they're probably not going to purchase the ones that they found straight off of their home decor search. Now they're going to go in and do a bar stool search, right? And see what's out there for bar stools specifically. Then they start narrowing it down. Like, do I want metal ones? Do I want wooden ones? Do I want a cushion? Do I want one with a back on it? And you start to get more and more specific. And as the shopper flows down through, it's going to be the longer tail keywords that they land on that are going to be closer to when they're ready to pull the trigger and make their purchase. Yeah. So it's a very natural way for people to do, their searching and their shopping, is to start with something really generic like home decor and jewelry, which are highly competitive on Etsy, and not necessarily purchase off of those, but, find their way into a space from those. And I mean, that's a kind of an extreme example, right? Like home decor is like, I don't know, you get much more generic than that. But like the wine charm thing, just getting out of that hyper niche space and finding a word that's more home decor end of the spectrum, where it pulls people back and you get more people that are looking casually, but you can still pull them into your space from there.
You can. And every time I've learned about SEO, that's kind of like the main concept is, what is your item and who could be looking for it, or in what purpose can it serve? And I think that you explained it perfectly, like how people search, and that's how you should kind of figure out your keywords based on that. And I've had that concept said to me 1,000 times, but I never got it until I actually started thinking outside the box.
It gets into what you're saying about knowing your customer and knowing what they're actually looking for. They're not necessarily, when they sit down, looking for wine charms, but they're looking for a gift for someone who loves wine, which that's a perfect fit for someone who loves wine.
Exactly. And I've always been so afraid to steer away from that, because I'm like, oh, then my stuff will get put in the mix, and then like it'll get lost and no one will find it. And then when I started to be like, no, this is the concept of how SEO works, and I need to actually execute this concept and see what happens. But once I did that on a daily basis, my shop went from, I have to have a second job and kill myself working all the time, to I have one job and it's my Etsy shop, and if I want to kill myself working, I will, according to my schedule.
Yeah, it's your choice at that point. Absolutely. That's a fantastic choice to have. That's awesome.
But you can't be afraid of opening your mind up with the SEO. You can't just think like, if I put a different keyword like wine lover gift in front of wine glass charm, but it's a wine glass charm, so then no one's going to find it. No,
Right.
they won't find it.
You have to balance things out. You wouldn't want to have every single one of your tags be super niche long tail tags. You definitely want to balance. You also wouldn't want to have all of your tags be super generic ones either, right? So it's definitely a balance of finding what fits where and stuff like that. And that's awesome. You've identified that, and it's kind of interesting when you step back and start to look at keywords like that. And it's easy to, when you're looking at a listing and you want to fill out your tags, to just sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to need to think of 13 keywords to put in here. But that's not really going to work that way. You're not going to be able to come up with the 13 perfect keywords just sitting there thinking through things and trying things. You got to get out there and explore and look at numbers and see what looks promising. And even after the fact, like you're saying, we're reworking a listing every day. You have to go back and revisit these things and look in your stats and see which keywords are working for you and which ones aren't delivering any views at all. So cool, let's try one instead of that one, you know?
Yeah, Marmalead helps. It does, because you can see it. You're right. When you have 13 tags, you can only say wine glass, wine glasses, wine glass. You can only say the same word over and over again. But Etsy, they want to match listings to what people are searching for, but they do also want to show them options. Although you say, I'm looking for a wine glass charm, you may be looking for a personalized wine glass charm, but you didn't think of the word personalized because you're just a shopper. You just have more and more chances to get in front of people if you expand your keywords.
And it goes back to what you were saying before about, you know, a portion of the money that you make goes to Etsy because they're kind of working for those sales too. You guys work together hand in hand. Etsy wouldn't be successful without any sellers, and sellers on Etsy wouldn't really be successful if Etsy wasn't pushing the envelope and trying to figure out how to match those shoppers up with the things that they're looking for from the sellers that are there.
That's something that annoys me a little bit when I'm on like Etsy pages and with other sellers, and Etsy says if this is the fee or like this is something we're doing now, like with advertising was the latest big thing, and I'm like, it's not. Screw you, Etsy, you're taking all my money. It's Etsy's trying to help you help themselves as well.
Right.
Like it's a team, and if you had your own standalone website, you would be paying, I promise you, a lot more in advertising to get the same amount of customers that Etsy is just bringing to you for a couple cents per sale. A couple cents is a lot less than God knows how much you would spend on it. I know. I was doing Facebook ads for the longest time. And every month when I would do my numbers, I would put social media. Sometimes it didn't work because I was trying to figure it out on my own. And how Etsy's doing it now is if you get a click, if you get a sale, then they take, you know, a portion of it. They're not charging you if you don't get a sale or a click. You're not just paying for it to just be out there. So it's actually pretty fair in my opinion.
Right. And I mean, Etsy is paying for those to be out there. So they might be paying to have something put out there in advertising on your behalf, and you don't even get a click, and they just eat that cost.
Exactly. It's more beneficial, I think. And I think when Etsy does these things where they're like, okay, we need to take out an extra 2% or something of each sale so that we can cover costs of advertising or different things. We as sellers need them to be doing their work on their end to help us so that we can keep on focusing on making things. You know, it's their way of being a team with you to help you. They're not trying to destroy you and destroy your shop like a lot of people think. That's not what's happening. And I see it. I fully do promoted listings. I do the advertising. And if it's not working on a certain listing, then I will take that listing off. I do still have control to a certain extent. I can say this item's $15 and this month I spent $17 on advertising and I sold one.
Right.
So maybe that's not a listing that I should be throwing into the ring of Etsy advertising.
Right.
You do have a sense of control, and you can control how much you are comfortable spending per day. It's not like they're just taking and running.
Here's my bank account. Have at it.
Yeah, they're not doing that. And I think a lot of people like automatically assume like that's what's happening, but it's completely like a lot of people felt like they didn't have control anymore once they started the social media advertising. But you do, because you can see what you're making versus what the advertising cost was, and you can just remove that listing if it's not working.
Right. So what are you most looking forward to going into this holiday season?
I think I'm most excited to see which customers come back, because now Etsy, they give you that little star that says this is a repeat buyer. And that's one thing I noticed this year growing my business is I did have quite a few repeat buyers. And that's what helps you grow, because now you have new people and you have a chunk of people who are rebuying from you, and that's what's also adding to the growing income and growing orders. So I'm excited to see what relationships I can build with my customers in the holidays to have them come back later on in the year, and see who's coming back this year from last year.
It's nice to see that as a seller, but it's also a good thing for Etsy because they're tracking that. And if they see someone coming back to purchase from the same shop again, I mean, it means they had a good experience the first time. So that's kind of like even more of a bonus for that shop. So I'm sure that gets weighted into things when they're considering placement and search and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I am excited for the holidays. One thing I'm excited to see is the stocking issue. I want to see how this year is going to be different than any other year. So
I think you're right.
curious to see how it's going to operate differently than any other year, because things are a lot harder to get here. And like I said earlier, even the people who are distributors in the US are having trouble catching up right now in the summer, right before people start buying for the holidays. So I'm curious to see who and how they're going to make the holidays the best possible holiday season that they can have, given the circumstances right now.
Yeah. And I think stocking, having the materials on hand is going to be a huge component for sellers. We already saw a tipping point years ago where more people shopped online on Black Friday than went out into stores to do that. And that's been trending that way for a long time. It's just going to keep trending more and more that way. As of COVID, I think it's really pushing that pace even faster, so that people purchasing things online, it's being given a bump. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be bigger than it has in the past. And once people start developing that habit, it's going to be hard to break that habit. I don't think it's really going to head back the other direction where brick and mortar stores become more popular than online purchases. And so, like you're saying, having things in stock is going to be key for being around in those weeks right before the holiday where all the procrastinators are trying to find stuff and what's available.
A lot of people are nervous about this coming winter because I guess COVID has some similar symptoms to colds you get during the winter. Your immune system naturally gets weakened during flu season and winter and stuff. So I think people are going to be extra afraid to go out holiday shopping. So I think Christmas and the holidays on Etsy this year is going to be like their biggest holiday season they've ever seen, because nobody's going to want to crowd the stores. I don't think people are really going to go out as much as they have any other year because of what's gone on this year.
Yeah. I mean, I think even outside of the whole the COVID thing, this probably would have been Etsy's biggest holiday year online anyway, even if that hadn't happened. And it's just going to bump that number up even more.
I think it's just going to be an explosive year. And my suggestion to everybody is stock up and cross your fingers that you make it all back during the holidays. I'm sure you will.
As crazy as 2020 has been, it has definitely been overall beneficial to online sellers, I believe. And I believe that that's just, it's moved the needle towards where things have been going online selling wise, but it's moved it like several years ahead of where it otherwise would have been.
Yeah.
Let me jump in real quick to let you know that if you're enjoying this podcast, you should definitely check out our free 3-part mini-series about Etsy SEO. It's designed to take you from what is Etsy SEO to an example of an efficient Marmalead workflow. Check it out at marmalead.com/jam2020.
I think if you're somebody who's at home who has an Etsy shop that's like kind of on the cusp, don't be afraid to pull the trigger of working for yourself. I think what held me back more than anything is fear that if I quit these jobs that I couldn't stand, not because they were bad jobs, but because I was internally mad because I know I really wanted to be working for myself, but couldn't let go. And there was this internal battle. If I had just known that, let go for 1 month and work on your shop every day, all day, and do all the things that you need to do and see what happens. I had just done that a year ago. I mean, I would probably have been working for myself for a year, with or without COVID-19. You have to have trust and faith that you know what you're doing at a certain point. You can't let anything else control you. There's always going to be another way to make money if you need money. But if this is what you want to do as your way to live life, do it and try it. And it's not going to work on the first day. It's going to take a little traction to grow and a little work, but just do it. Just try it for a month and don't contact me if it doesn't work. Because I can't promise that whatever work you do, whatever work I do will be the same. But I just think if you have it in you, you can really make it happen. 1 month, month and a half, I would say, realistically, is what it took for me. If you just do it, you can make it happen. If I can, you can. And if, again, the numbers were exactly the same for over a year. I could have been right where I am right now a year ago if I had just trusted myself and given myself a month. There's always another way to make money if you need it. You know, if you need a little extra boost, Uber, Lyft, Grubhub, DoorDash. And that's the message I really want people to know is like, don't be afraid. There are so many other options. You are miserable at your job. You don't like it and you want to be an Etsy seller. You want to have your own business. There are ways around things. There's so many other things you can do while you're building your Etsy shop. It does not make you have a strict schedule. Like, I do not have to go babysit from 10 to 6 and then only have, 7 to 10 or 11, whatever, to work on my Etsy shop. I can work on my Etsy shop all day, and if things aren't moving, maybe take a couple hours here and there to go grocery shop, go pick somebody up and drive them somewhere. Can manage it and make it work. And don't be afraid to start Etsy shop, because my neighbor, she started her Etsy shop in April of this year, and she has 45 sales. It's July. You never know what's going to happen. You never know when it's going to hit.
You got to try it, though. Try it. Stick with it. That's the biggest thing. Yeah. And also with our many lists, it's like, man, you just got to stick to the list, the really important list. And if you do that and you stick to the strategy and not 2 days into it, jump off and go chase something else. Yeah.
The biggest thing is don't be afraid. Let things take their time to grow. My biggest thing was fear. I was always so afraid of what if I invest in my Etsy shop all my time and energy and I quit these 2 jobs or even 1 job, and what if it doesn't work? Then what am I going to do? You have to at least give yourself a chance to try. I mean, if you don't have enough in your account to support you for a month, then don't quit your job and come up with a different plan. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you have the ability to do it and you know this is what you want to do, at least give yourself the opportunity to try.
Definitely agree with that. Give yourself the opportunity. Go after what you really want.
Absolutely. Carly, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us and going through everything. This is great. I think it's an important message to get out to people, and I think that it's going to resonate with a lot of sellers who listen to this and can connect with it. So thank you so much for taking the time to share this with us. You're welcome. Thank you. Absolutely. I want people to go for their dreams and not be afraid like I was, because that's one thing I regret. Not that I have regrets, but don't be afraid. Really try if this is what you really want. Definitely. It might seem scary at first, but power through. We've chatted with you before. If anyone wants to hear more from you, they can actually look back at a jam we did with you in January of 2018. If you just search Carly Marmalead Jam, I'm sure you'll find it on Google, but it looks like we called it Etsy Seller Tips from a Shopper's Perspective with Carly. So, and if you want to check out her shop, I recommend you do that. Pendantplacestore on Etsy. So go ahead and check out her stuff there. Anywhere else that people can get a hold of you that we should pass along? So for my Etsy shop, I actually have a website linked to it. So it's just pendantplace.com. More so on Instagram, Pendantplace Etsy, I think is what it is. Well, thank you so much. It's been fantastic. We always like talking with you. Yeah, I love talking with you guys. Awesome.